Uncle Mark.
Yeah, right here.
Well, it's nice to have you back on the show after last week. Your absence was definitely the brightest part of my week.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
But back, a week ago, we dug into a story as stupid as it is dumb. But we couldn't get it all done in one episode. Uncle Dan started taking us through the Book of Exodus.
Yes.
And he's back.
Yep.
It's Exodus 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's this is the time for some great exodusing.
Exodus 2, still Exodusing.
And we're actually going to Exodus now. We're not going to make it through the entirety. I now see why Cecil B. DeMille had to take almost 4 hours. There's a lot of story to this story. He skipped way a lot of stupid. Just so much stupid. I'm not going to skip the stupid.
I just want to get to Yul Brynner in that glistening chest of his.
Well, you guys want to know a fun Mormon fact?
Sure.
Who won an Academy Award for design on the Ten Commandments? Cecil B. DeMille's Ten Commandments.
I don't know.
Arnold Friedberg. The painter of our Mormon youth. He was participated in designing that movie. There you go. Little Mormon fact.
The man who caused the first gay erections for so many young Mormon boys.
So many. Oh my God. Yeah.
Painting all of these Mormon heroes as
extremely homoerotic.
In these amazing bodies with huge rippling muscles. Anyway.
Google him, listeners. His, especially the lady listeners.
Yeah.
His subject matter is beefy.
Yeah, it's true. All right, well, let's get to the beef of this. When we last left our Israelite heroes, slow of speech Moses and his smooth-talking brother Aaron, they and their personality disordered deity had just inflicted 9 plagues on the people of Egypt because the Pharaoh wouldn't let the Israelite slaves go. Never mind the fact that the reason he wouldn't let them go was that this Israelite God had purposefully hardened his heart, specifically so that he wouldn't let them go. I mean, that's just good fun, right?
And I just, as a reminder, you read that part where Moses was on his way, and out of fucking nowhere, it's like, and then God went to kill him.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah?
Don't worry.
Yeah, sorry.
This is the same God. We're going to have more of that action. God is not nice to anybody. He is a lunatic. Anyway, quick recap. The plagues so far have been all of the water in Egypt having been turned to blood, then frogs, gnats, flies, then all the Egyptian-owned livestock dying, but don't worry because somehow they have livestock again.
Well, also they don't have water, right? So
a few verses later.
The Nile is just a giant clot.
Yeah, well, except that all of that they don't talk about how, but all of it gets just fixed. So
no water, no food. Good.
Then all the Egyptians get festering boils, then a mega hailstorm that killed all the crops, in case you were thinking they could just be vegetarians.
Right.
Then locusts. Well, now it's time for the big show. The grand finale. Bring out the white tigers and throw a tarp over the Statue of Liberty, because this one is the one God's been saving. But don't get too excited just yet, because this one requires some prep. You may recall from last week that early on in the story, God told Moses that he'd make all the Egyptians feel warm and fuzzy about the Israelites, and they'd just hand over their gold to them. Well, now's the time. God tells them, all the Israelites, to go to their neighbors and ask for their gold. So, knock, knock. Hey there, wealthy captor. Could I, have all of your extremely rare and valuable possessions?
Can I have a cup of jewelry?
I'm really sorry about the boils.
Yeah, exactly. And to which, of course, they replied, "Oh, sure, slave with no value to me beyond free labor, who I was literally whipping yesterday. Take my silver, too. It's all incredibly heavy. Hope you're not planning to take it on an insanely long journey. Ha, ha, ha." The King James Version actually says that they borrow the gold. Borrow with no intention of returning it.
Yes.
What's that called again? Anyway, so why would they do this? What possible need could a bunch of slaves have for shiny metals out in the wilderness for 40 fucking years? Could this possibly be backfilling for a part of the story later on that somebody realized didn't make any sense? So they went back and added this? Everyone just say for a minute. Anyway.
Things that make you say,
Anyway, Moses says to Pharaoh, hey, this is what the Lord says. About midnight, this is a quote, by the way, about midnight, because the Lord doesn't like to be too tied down to specific times, I will go through Egypt. Every firstborn son of Egypt will die, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who sits on the throne, to the firstborn son of the female slave who is at her handmill, and all the firstborn cattle as well. There will be loud wailing throughout Egypt, worse than there has ever been or will ever be again. But among the Israelites, not a dog will bark at any person or animal.
okay.
Then you will know that the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel.
You know how John Oliver, every time Trump does something ridiculous, John Oliver's like, we got him.
Right.
We got him, right?
Yeah.
Like, is this not enough?
Right?
Is this murderous insanity not like, okay, are we done?
Are we done? Can we let go of this God as being anything other than a psychopath?
And also, how can you kill the firstborn cow of all the dead cows?
Oh, no, the cows are back. I don't know how. We discussed this last week. You weren't there.
Okay.
But the cows magically reappear.
You should listen to the show, Mark.
You should listen
never,
to this show.
never.
It's a pretty good show.
I hate it. I would never listen to it.
Yeah, literally 2 plagues later,
They're back.
they were like, hey, bring in all of your livestock from the fields because there's going to be hail. And it's just like, wait, what livestock?
You mean just like haul the carcasses under something, or what? What are you talking about?
Anyway, that was at like 8:30 a.m. or something, this threat to Pharaoh, because before that happened, there was a shit ton of stuff that the Israelites had to do. True to biblical form,
God.
there are now pages after pages of ritual bullshit for Moses' people to go through. Bake bread with no yeast. Get a lamb for each household, with a helpful math equation for how to figure out if you can share a lamb with their next door neighbors if they're poor and they don't have a lamb. It's a weight to number ratio thing. Anyway, it's how you say thorough. There are extensive instructions about how you are and are not allowed to cook that lamb. Definitely don't boil it. And how to eat it, and blah,
Okay.
blah, blah. It is mind-numbing.
Does anybody have to be told not to boil lamb?
Yes.
I mean, is that a temptation?
They have to be told.
Okay.
Because let me tell you something. Casting a magic death spell is apparently super specific. But the most important thing is that you spread the blood of the lamb over your doorframe, because even though God could tell which livestock was Egyptian and which was Israelite just a few plagues ago, he apparently has more trouble differentiating which humans are which. And, hate to slaughter the wrong fucking children, right?
Yeah. That's bad manners.
It really is. So, this trick actually works. Finally, Pharaoh says, take your people and your livestock and get the fuck out of Egypt. The rest of the Egyptians are also very eager for them to go. Like, can we help you pack? Here, let me load that cart for you. Want more gold? Here, take some clothes as well. Please just get the fuck out. So, the Israelites grabbed their dough. That's right. Time is spent talking about them grabbing their unleavened bread dough. And they left. Apparently about 600,000 men, plus all the women and children. So easily over 1 million people. And also, quote, large droves of livestock, both flocks and herds. All embark on this journey into the wilderness with their dough. And then the Lord gave a bunch of rules for how the Passover meal was to be eaten, including the fact that no man whose penis wasn't mutilated could eat it, and also rules about when, brace yourselves, their slaves could participate. Meaning the slaves of the Israelites. So what the actual fuck?
This book is so shitty that even the slaves have slaves.
It seems that they needed to make it super duper clear that this story was in no way to be interpreted as an anti-slavery parable.
Right.
This is not about making no slaves. This is about making these people, God's favorite people, not be slaves anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I think if you find yourself being the slave of a slave, you got to take an inventory. You know what I mean? You just got to figure, how did I get here?
Ask
How did this
yourself
happen to me?
some real probing questions at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then there are about what feels like 150 more pages about commemorating this whole thing by eating the unleavened bread, remember the dough, and consecrating your firstborn son. And did I mention bread? And yeah, no yeast. You got that part right for the bread?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that's all fun and good. And then the Lord, clever Lord that he was, didn't want this newly freed horde to get into any fights along the way, so he told them not to take the freeway. That'll lead them right through Philistine territory. So they got to turn right and then take the country road through the desert. It's kind of like playing a video game because God assumed the form of a pillar of cloud that they could follow during the day,
Right.
and a pillar of fire that they could follow during the night. Apparently, they didn't need sleep. So they always knew which way they were supposed to go. That's real nice.
Yeah.
But wait, none of that sounds like the psychotic narcissist of a God we've all come to know and be utterly terrified by. He hasn't shit on his own people for like entire paragraphs. Well, let me just hit you with the first 4 verses of Exodus chapter 14. Ahem. Then the Lord said to Moses, quote, "Tell the Israelites to turn back and encamp near Pi-Hahiroth between Migdol and the sea. They are to encamp by the sea directly opposite Baal-Zephon. Pharaoh will think the Israelites are wandering around the land in confusion, hemmed in by the desert. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will pursue them. But I will gain glory for myself through Pharaoh and all his army, and the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord." So the Israelites did this.
Jesus.
That's right. He turned them around.
And got Pharaoh pissed off again.
And pissed Pharaoh off again. Right. So Pharaoh, his heart once again hardened against his will, got all Pharaoh-y, and decided to go get his slaves back.
By the way, this is the scene in the Ten Commandments. It's my favorite scene.
Oh, yeah?
Where Yul Brynner just like extends his 2 arms out, and they all just like put that armor on him, that fantastic gold armor. I want to be dressed like that every day.
Okay. Well, we'll arrange it. It's fine.
Patreon goal.
Patreon goal. Here we go.
Yeah.
So anyway, he took 600 of his best chariots, as well as all the other chariots in Egypt. So why the fuck mention the first 600 then? Just say all. He took all the chariots. God damn it. And he took all his horsemen and all his troops. And since God had basically been forcing the Israelites to walk in a circle like idiots, it didn't take Pharaoh long to catch up with them. And the Israelites were like, "Well, fuck, Moses. We fucking told you to leave us alone and just let us slave away in peace. But you had to go meddling, didn't you? Now,
where's your God now, eh?"
Right. By the way, the character of Dathan in the movie is interesting because he basically is the summation of all of this grumbling. He's not a real person in the Bible. They just decided
a stand-in for like all of the Israelites.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, so anyway, they said now instead of being slaves in Egypt, we're going to be dead in the middle of the desert. So that's even worse. You did it worse. You made things worse again.
Yeah.
And Moses was like, "Don't worry, guys. God's going to fight this whole battle for you. You don't have to do a damned thing. Just stand still and shut up." And God sent his cloud pillar that was leading them to the back of the group, and it sat between the Egyptians and the Israelites, and all night caused one side to be dark and one side to be light. So I guess that was enough to keep the Egyptians from attacking for some reason.
You know, a pillar-based navigation system is really, a lost art.
It is.
Yeah,
it
it's
is,
only as
especially-
reliable as the psychopath operating it, right?
Right, exactly. Who is apparently doing a spiral.
Yeah.
Anyway, God told Moses to raise his stick. We all know this part, and stretch his hand out over the water on the Red Sea, and the waters would part, and then his people could walk across on dry land. Now, we are not talking, as I think we did mention this a long time ago on this show.
Yeah,
we're not talking
this,
about the thick of the Red Sea. We're not talking about the really wide part of the Red Sea. We're talking about one of these little horns that sort of pokes up from the top of it. So it's still a bit of a walk, but not quite as impressive. Anyway, they're trying to. What I'm saying is they're trying to make it sound more impressive than it actually is. But still impressive. The sea parts. God's and then all of the Israelites get to walk through, and then God said, okay, before they actually walk through, God is telling Moses how to do this, and he said that he would once again harden the hearts of the Egyptians so they would pursue them. To which Moses once again didn't say, why don't you soften their hearts so they'll just leave us the fuck alone?
You're not helping.
Anyway, the waters part, the Israelites go through on dry ground with a wall of water on the left and a wall of water on the right. And then the Egyptians followed, and the water crashed down on them, and they all died. Which that is absolutely what you want to have happen, I guess. It's cute.
And again,
Eventually. I mean, God, he could have done something like that sooner, but he decided this whole little run around in a circle dog and pony show was important before he actually just fucking killed all the Egyptians, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
The pillar of fire could have killed them.
Yeah.
Anything could have killed them. They could have all lived and just
Any
lived
of several million plagues.
Sure.
Right. And just the show so far, Egypt has suffered the worst catastrophe in its history.
Yeah.
All of the firstborn have died. The crops are gone. The livestock is gone. The army is gone. Mm-hmm. None of this was written down.
Yes. To reiterate that point from last week, none of this is recorded by the Egyptians. Not only what you just said, Doug.
Yeah.
But the loss of a million enslaved workers.
Yeah.
The magical slaughter of everything. The absolute destruction of Egypt's entire armed forces at one moment. They just forgot to write that down.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, chapter 14 of Exodus ends with this. And when the Israelites saw the mighty hand of the Lord displayed against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord and put their trust in him and in Moses and his servant. Which totally sounds like and they all lived happily ever after. And to underscore that, chapter 15 is comprised almost entirely of a longish song of rejoicing that they have all apparently spontaneously burst into, singing together, like the end of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So,
What song did they sing? I really hope it was Here Comes the Hot Stepper. That would be awesome.
don't know what that is.
All the Jews down in Jewville.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is 100% that, which is why I'm going to leave it there for now. But I think I'm coming back for part 3.
Part 3.
Wow.
It's a trilogy.
I think we're going to do some more. So
That's a first. It's a first on our little
That's
program.
right. And like the Matrix, it just keeps getting better and better.
All right. So let's with that happy ending destined to be completely shit on, we'll move along.
Let's move on.